Following online criticism, Taylor Swift's music video, Anti-Hero, on her Midnights album has been edited to remove a scene that shows her stepping on a bathroom scale that reads, fat. Someone on Twitter wrote, I don't deny or diminish anyone's experience with eating disorders, but I'm truly overseeing complicated, personal, incredibly nuanced issues get reduced to the word fat. The video on Apple Music and YouTube no longer shows the close-up of the scale, but instead, Swift's clone in the video looks at her in disappointment. Variety says Swift and Apple Music did not immediately respond to requests for comment.
Some people online are saying the inclusion of the word fat on the scale was okay. One Twitter user wrote, the ultimate self-loathing song video has been edited to essentially erase how frank and open T Swift has been about her eating disorder. It's a song about self-loathing, not about you or me, it's about her. An editor at The Bulwark, Sonny Bunch, wrote, eventually I will stop being surprised by how dumb and or bad faith the average consumer of media is, and eventually I will stop being disappointed that artists keep giving in to the dumb, bad faith babies. And another Twitter user wrote, Taylor Swift fell for the post-art censorship. And I frankly agree. The point was not to stigmatize fat people or being fat, but was depicting a experience that many young women and many just people in general have of feeling overweight or having negative self-body image issues, even when they're not overweight at all. I mean, this is something foisted on young girls in a very damaging and destructive way. She was depicting that with honesty. It's something true to her own life that she's talked about. Mm-hmm. You know, we can't use the word fat at all. This is getting very. I mean, she was using it in a sense of having a conversation or depicting a conversation that happens all the time and something that mm-hmm. is fine to be talked about. So I'm truly lost on this one.
So I also think it was fine, but the criticism wasn't that she used the word fat. The criticism was that they felt like the way eating disorders were depicted in the video was reductive. So I think what Taylor Swift's video was fine. I also think that it's, I want to represent the critique appropriately. It wasn't quite as simplistic as, some people are saying. Mm-hmm. I will say I would have supported Taylor Swift if she chose to keep it in. I should also support her decision to take it out. I think that some of the commentary is erasing her autonomy, frankly, and pretending, and we don't know what the truth is, but pretending that she had to bend the knee or else she was going to be canceled by a woke mob. And when this happened earlier in the year with Lizzo, some people actually very sweetly to Lizzo said on Twitter, hey, bestie, you're my favorite. I really love you. I don't love the word spaz in your video. I just wondered if you'd considered whether or not that was the best choice of words. And Lizzo said, you know what? I hadn't ever thought about it. I'll take it out. And Lizzo was very open about the fact that it was her choice. She wanted all of her listeners to feel comfortable. It wasn't that important to her. She hadn't given it that much thought, and so she took it out. And so I don't know if Taylor Swift felt like oppressed in re-editing the mm-hmm. video in this way, or if she thought, hey, I want to just be basically polite. If I were at a dinner party and someone said they didn't eat shellfish, I wouldn't feel owned or canceled for having to serve something different. Mm-hmm. It's just life. I don't know that every single one of these issues is a cancel culture issue, and I think she would have been fine and justified in her position either way.
I guess I don't disagree with that. Fine, she can do whatever she wants. It's her video. I just think the underlying sentiment is silly, because she still depicted the same. She ended up depicting the same kind of storyline, is what it sounds like, because now this other person representing her expresses some kind of disapproval of her physical state just without using the word fat.
Yeah.
So it's like it was addressed in a way that just erases the word without changing any of it substantively, which means right, it's a very small edit, and I don't really care. And if maybe she thought that was better, fine. But then it does make it look like it was just even like you showing that word on camera, like it's some very forbidden Voldemort type term.
Yeah, I mean,
which that I find.
I've never had an eating disorder, so I can't really speak to what people's actual concerns are there. But I do think that the irony is that Taylor Swift probably put the word fat because she was trying to avoid putting a number. Because for Taylor Swift, she's talking about an eating disorder, not an actual health-based desire to lower one's weight. So whatever Taylor Swift, who's always been a slender woman, saw on the scale that made her feel fat was probably going to be a number that made a lot of viewers feel like, oh, I guess I'm fat too. I must be morbidly obese if Taylor Swift thinks 140 pounds or whatever is fat. And so I would argue that the irony is that Taylor was probably already trying to be sensitive to her audience by not including a number. And so there is something, I think, I would agree that there is a superficiality to the concern here? Like, do you not want eating disorders depicted at all? Do you want them to be depicted in a more substantive way? And is editing this frame out, like actually making it a more substantive conversation? Taylor Swift is someone who generally treats things sensitively, is very open and kind to her audience. I'm almost madder that this change being made satisfies the concern, because then that suggests the concern isn't real.
Well, but there is, right, an online community of some people who don't want the term, they don't want the literal word fat. They don't want the term stigmatized whatsoever. So depicting that, so having the word there and framing it as a negative thing is I think I don't know how many people were actually, but this could be a situation where actually 6 people were upset.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
if people
that's
are
kind of
upset,
what it feels
that's
like.
something but that is, you've probably seen as well online, people on Twitter talking about it that way. So I presume that is the community of people who are upset by this. People who don't want the idea, or who don't want it portrayed that anyone could think there's something wrong with being fat.
I mean, that's obviously silly because she's being introspective. I mean, she's being self-aware about how wrong it was to see herself as fat, not opining on whether or not the term is good or bad. Obviously, she saw herself negatively and as fat
I agree.
negatively,
That's
and
why
that
I think
was
it's
part
silly.
of the
But that is
disorderedness.
what they're saying, I think. That
Who is this they?
I don't know. We can track down all 6 people who are mad about this.
One person can say
Variety
something.
wrote the whole article.
Yeah.
Would a media organization ever write an entire article about just 6 tweets?
Yeah.
Surely this must be, people are in the streets up in arms about this.
They find one. Well, there was a piece a couple of weeks ago, maybe a week or 2 ago, about one Reddit post. Oh, it was conservatives were very upset about the idea that the thumbs up emoji was apparently wrong, verboten, you weren't supposed to use it anymore. And there were a bunch of conservative mags who wrote about how these kids are trying to cancel us for using the thumbs up emoji. And it was based on one Reddit post from like 4 years ago.
Yeah. BuzzFeed is the worst offender of all of these, does this constantly, is trying to create a trend. Right. Often conservatives are mad that like this person was recast, and then what you find is there are more people mad at the idea that conservatives would be mad. So really, it's we've created a totally false trend that and the actual trend contradicts the false trend we just created.
Yeah.
Journalism in 2022. But
yeah, well,
what was your view on the album? Have you listened to it yet?
I have not listened to it yet. I think that she's a very competent songwriter, and I support her, but it is not exactly my taste of music.
I feel similarly. How about that? It's been on a lot in my household, and I think her music is just fine.
I'm glad your wife's enjoying it so much.
More Rising right after this.